Welkom. Leuk dat je kijkt of luistert naar de VIA Livecast, de podcast van VIA Nederland, waar we live verslag doen vanuit onze events. Vandaag zijn we bij de Dutch State of AI in Advertising, hier bij DVJ Media in Amsterdam. Mijn naam is Boj Holslag en vandaag ga ik in gesprek met Nina Spälti, Research Director bij DVJ Insights, Olaf van Gerwen, Founder en Global Creative Director bij Chuck Studios, en Anthony Katsur, CEO bij de IAB Tech Lab. Gezien de internationale setting gaan we verder in het Engels. Nina, can you make a short introduction of yourself and can you also explain what you talked about today?
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here. My name is Nina Spälti. I'm a research director at DVJ. Thanks for the lovely introduction. I was here today with my colleague Stefan, also from DVJ Insights, and we talked a little bit about how we can use AI to better test creatives and different models that can be enhanced or predictive insights that can be generated with AI beyond what we can do with just human responses, really finding that the combination of those AI metrics with the human touch, those human responses usually gets us the best types of insights that can help our fellow advertisers create the best possible ads for their campaigns.
Right, I think we have some great follow-up questions on that a little bit later. Okay. But before we get to that, Olaf.
My name is Olaf van Gerwen. I am founder of Chuck Studios, where food goes to get famous. We're a production house and a design agency focusing on food and drinks only. And I'm here in the capacity of being the chairman of the task force Craft within VIA. So that task force exists to represent makers, the making industry of ads. So that's filmmakers, photographers, post-production, animation, sound, etc., within VIA. And today I had a little session about how we use generative AI in film to create images for ads, which is clearly a hot topic. What are the downsides of it in my specific industry of food and drinks? Because you need to be very careful, because we are very hardwired to know what is edible and what is not edible. So it's a slippery slope. And maybe a thought on let's stop talking about AI and get back to work, because we've been doing a lot of talking, we've been doing a lot of fearing, a lot of hope, but I think the fundamentals of how the work works is far more interesting conversation than how we make the work.
Tony.
I'm Anthony Katsur, CEO of the IAB Tech Lab. The IAB Tech Lab is the global technical standard setting body for digital advertising. Today, I was here talking about our agentic ad management protocols, or the AMP framework, which is a set of protocols built on top of existing Tech Lab standards to power agentic advertising workflows. And I love your tagline of where food goes to get famous. That is fantastic.
Very much. We're very happy with.
Not AI generated, I assume.
No, it's older than AI. Yeah.
I think it's good to start with the first question for you, Olaf, and please all chip in. This is a discussion for everybody. So where do you still see the unique human value in advertising today and in the future?
Well, obviously, AIs don't get lovesick, and they don't get sad, and they don't get angry, they don't get hungry. So we need to look at the consumer always as a point of reference for whatever we do. So there's never going to be a world without the interference of humans. Yet I'm very hopeful that many repetitive and boring tasks can be outsourced to AI. So it's a bit obvious, but clearly curation, taste, supervision, providing safety is always going to be in the hands of humans who take an actual decision. So I'm hopeful that there's going to be very new and interesting jobs, and boring jobs are going to disappear. Humans are going to be at the center of the whole marketing and advertising operation, I think, forever. In some segments, maybe not, but they were no one's childhood dream to begin with. Maybe I'm naive, because sometimes I can be that a little bit. maybe it's a bit of hope.
I really like what you said about the consumer at the end really being the key target and AI not being the consumer. So I look at it from my industry, from consumer insights, a little bit differently because we're not the ones generating the ads but testing them. And we have been playing around with AI tools for testing ads, but we generally find that the best results that we get, the most predictive results, are really when you combine sort of AI predictive tools together with that human touch. So just looking at AI doesn't predict as much as just the human, but because AI can go a step further, add a little bit more predictive value to it, it's really that combination that tends to have the best value in the end. So I would agree with your point of view that, you know, while AI does enhance and hopefully takes away the boring jobs, I definitely know I use it for the things that could speed up my day-to-day processes a bit more. I think at the end of the day, it's really that combination of technology plus human that gets us the furthest.
Perhaps for you, Tony, this is a nice follow-up. Is low-cost production with AI, by using the technologies, an opportunity, or do we still see it being a pitfall?
I think it's a pitfall, certainly in the near term. To your point on, there's already been studies in the US, there's been research where millennial and Gen Z generations in particular have been tested on what they think of AI-generated ads, and they're not well received, right? So that human element, that human component of creative, frankly, I think purely generative AI type of creative, I don't think plays well with the consumer. They can see it, they can sense it. Like, advertising is about appealing to human emotion. It's about appealing to human wants and needs, and AI just isn't good at that. And I don't know if it'll ever be good at that.
I also saw research where there was a significant difference in young audiences recognizing AI much better than older audiences.
Gen Z and millennials, yeah.
So because they have a better eye for it.
Yep.
But I think the trick is that once it gets to that point where you can't see it anymore, you can't tell it anymore, that's when it becomes really relevant. If you can tell it's AI, all sorts of mechanisms in the brain go to work to want to destroy it.
But the story is still human driven. Would you agree? Like, it's still a human derived story.
In many cases, but also those are, you know, when you boil them down, Hollywood movies are basically 11 stories, I believe.
Right.
So again, that is also can be formulaic in a sense. And I think that is not bad. That's just the way our brain works. We want to be satisfied in a certain manner. And AI can help there a lot. But curation, safety, taste, a different angle. You know, what I love in generative AI is the mistakes. Because they inspire me. I see so much stupid shit on screens.
Yep.
That's like, this is something entirely fresh. I've never seen it before. That's where it gets interesting.
Yep.
When it does what it's taught to do and what I expect it to do, it gets boring.
Yeah, we've actually had some interesting studies where we've combined sort of human qualitative data with an AI tool and train it based on that. And you would find that the sort of creative ideas that it comes up with is much more extensive than just what the humans say, but also, let's just say, a little bit less weird things than what you would see with just AI. Yeah. But I like that perspective of the weird things maybe also generating an idea that maybe before wasn't there. So it actually could foster creativity.
But I see that as AI assisted creative, right? It's not autonomously
all
generated.
Currently is.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily know that the blooper is something new, right?
Correct. Sure.
Then you need the human touch to say that that's something I can work with.
And I saw data from System 1 about, it's not data, it's research about the effort bias. The effect that if people think that it was easy to make it, it's valued less. So if people feel that a lot of effort was done to create the thing becomes more valuable.
Oh, interesting.
So, and that also counts for AI ads. If it's well crafted, it still pays off, because people feel if it was flimsy or lazy, and that's called the effort bias, and it makes so much sense. You know, if you imagine a stop motion where someone is, making puppets from felt and sewing it, it's like, whoa, they really put in the effort.
Yeah.
it just feels better.
There's something about that level of investment that the brand felt it was so important to invest.
Yes.
The consumer has an appreciation for the level of effort that went into that. Yeah.
And if it's lazy, they'll punish you for it.
Yeah.
And the question that I get a lot is, can we now have much more assets for much less money? That's in itself a lazy question. Right? And that won't help.
I think we just had a perfect example of that earlier today with the KPN ad that we were shown. I mean, maybe I had the first initial reaction too when I heard it was an AI-generated ad, but the moment he started explaining just how much work went into it and all the details, you suddenly gain a lot more appreciation, almost that it's an art behind it. So I think that's a perfect example of how, and maybe also why it was evaluated so positively in the end, because people could tell it wasn't just a quick 2-sentence prompt.
And
behind
also
it.
because the ad and the platform was already like a fairy tale. It was already fantasy. It wasn't aiming to replicate actual realism. Then you get much more leeway. Like Bambi is also not real, but it still makes me cry. Right? So that's with the cat also. I don't care if it's AI, it's a cute cat. Much more intuitive to respond to those things.
Nina, is measuring emotion making advertising stronger or more mechanical?
That's a good one. So we do a lot of tests where we do try to see if ads evoke emotion, because we do know from years of research now that emotional ads, and you probably know this as well, are much more likely to hit home, be watched longer, have better connection with the brand, and be remembered afterwards. And I think this is a question to me that doesn't even relate to AI so much. I mean, AI can help us measure emotion, but we've been trying to measure emotion for years now through more, let's say, traditional research methods, by asking respondents outright, by using other techniques. And I think AI is just a new tool to help do so. And in general, I don't think measuring emotions is necessarily something bad, because I think you might sometimes be trying to convey an emotion or a story, and the creative route that you chose or the exact execution might not have triggered the emotion quite to the extent that you were hoping for. And I think testing it just gives us a better opportunity to help hone in on, hopefully, creators and creatives being able to better show that emotion. And AI is just another tool to do so, and hopefully at risk of sounding like it's all about efficiency, quicker, better, faster, and using more human insights, of course. So right now, we mostly rely on people's own responses. And now, thanks to AI tools, we can use predictive models that maybe also use EEG data, eye tracker data, and a lot more cognitive features that can help predict emotions using other human processes that maybe we couldn't predict with more traditional methods in the market research industry.
Olaf, do you use that feedback a lot in your creative processes, and did that change over the last
data
years?
feedback, research feedback? Well, we in our company we do not, but we make use of a lot of data in the sense to learn. We want to learn what works. I think that the big research companies have unlocked much of their knowledge to the audiences. So it is rather easy now to know what works in advertising and what does not work. So there's no more excuses to do stupid stuff, right? And I enjoy that because it's better for the whole industry. So we tend to look at data a lot to learn about how we move forward, how we help build brands or grow brands. The one pitfall is that somebody said it beautifully, like looking at data, and that counts for as much as for research as for the way AI changes data into images or insights. If you use data too much, it's a bit like learning how to drive with only a rear view mirror. You're going to see what has happened and you will not see what will happen. And the world or humans may surprise you in the future. If you look only at data, the risk is becoming vanilla, becoming the same,
predictable,
similar. And that is the exact opposite of what brands need. Brand needs distinctiveness, uniqueness. That's how you build brand. Carve out that one special space in consumers' minds and hammer down on it constantly. So yes, data to know how the fundamentals work, but use creativity and whatever that may be. John Haggerty uses the phrase, creativity is inserting something of you into the thing. And the you in that is the human. So yes, and both. So both the data and hopefully unique human insights.
With everything that we can use right now in this innovation around AI, what would you advise a brand in how to stand out between all of this?
That's very simple. That has nothing to do with AI. On the contrary, the way in my world of food and drinks to stand out is to define how you look, what you're going to talk about, create strong identities, visual identities, sonic identities, in our case, culinary identities, and use them constantly and don't change them every 2 years because you won't have the time to grow memory structures. That's the way to get out of this spiral of sameness, in my view.
Maybe I have a question for you then. So a lot of the work that you've been doing is really to help facilitate maybe more the efficiency side of things. Do you see additional benefits to having AI communicate as well? Maybe coming up with solutions, or maybe you mentioned a lot the bidding process as well that maybe wouldn't have been established if it were just humans involved?
Well, I think the current programmatic ecosystem, is an automation layer, and it is hyper efficient. But at the end of the day, there's still people that sit behind that tooling. I think AI can act as a layer to make that even smarter and therefore more efficient. So AI as an augmentation to the current programmatic landscape is how we think about it. But AI can also unlock value in other areas. To your point, there's a lot of the kind of boring rote tasks that let's put it this way, no agency person ever woke up and said, I can't wait to reconcile billing and impressions today. Like, that's a very rote task.
Reminded me of something on my to-do list.
AI is perfect for those types of tasks. Or, hey, I can't wait to troubleshoot why that creative didn't run on these two CTV platforms. AI is perfect to do that, and that unlocks resources to work on the more creative side of things, the more strategic side of things. So why I see the near-term benefits of agentic making programmatic work streams smarter, more efficient, more effective, I think it also does streamline other parts of the entire advertising ecosystem that historically have been human-powered, but they're rote, reproducible tasks that we can get people out of doing that and have those people focus on other high-value tasks for marketing and advertising.
Coming up with new media strategies and everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Rather
right.
Rather than spending their
time communicating. And again, that's still AI assisted, right? Like, so if
everything is
right, everything AI becomes kind of a superhuman assistant, right? But again, it's not. But you've automated your billing process. Like, again, no one's waking up being like, "Can't wait to do billing today." Ooh, that just gets me out of bed for work. No one says that. But I can't wait to get out of bed and come up with a really interesting creative strategy, a really interesting media strategy, talk to my client and have AI inform that, sift through all those years of data to see what worked, what didn't work. And again, you can even use AI to be like, okay, how do I differentiate? Because here's what everyone else is doing, like using it for market research and be like, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to do something really different. That's where I think AI becomes more of a strategic partner.
There is a risk in that, of course, given the fact that AIs train themselves and gravitate towards the most dominant patterns.
Yes.
Which is exactly what brands do not need.
Correct.
So there's also a danger, a watch out there, and overusing AI will probably slowly gravitate us towards a place of sameness.
Yes.
Yeah, and it all depends on what it was trained
homogeneity
on as well, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like you said before, it's about using the rear view mirror. I mean, sure, it can come up with new predictive tools, but it's all based on input that we've given it historically. So, yeah, you do run the risk of potentially going in the same direction over and over again.
What changes when we can predict creative performance before anything is even made?
Can we? is there data suggests that we can? Because we still have to make something in order to test it, no?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, we can work with stimuli, so creatives that you generate, and test where we think it will perform, how we predict it would perform, but there's still always an error rate to it. So at the end of the day, I think we can get close to it, but not perfectly, for a few different reasons. One being, again, what we were talking about historical data. So we've validated a lot of our models, and we do know that certain types of elements are more likely to predict something based on what we've seen in the past and validated based on past data. Other things can change, of course, as well over time. So we've had situations where we've had an ad that performs really well, and then something in the market changes unexpectedly, be it COVID starts, and then maybe your ad about healthcare might have a completely different impact than how you've predicted. And at the end of the day, my exact knowledge of how the AI models are built, of course, is not 100% up to date, but almost all algorithms do have built-in error rates as well. So there's always a little bit of like deviation that can come into play, of course, that we just don't know in advance how will fall. So I think we can get close to it, but there's always some elements that you can't 100% predict.
And humans are not predictable. And that's the fascinating thing. You know, humans never cease to surprise us. There's all sorts of micro trends that sometimes turn into macro trends that no one could have predicted. And that's the lovely thing about humans. Right?
Yeah, I actually have a cool story about this. A few years ago, I was testing some concept ideas for a jeans brand, and they really they thought, hey, this new cool, trend is coming along. People want to wear baggy jeans. And so we tested this, and most of the consumer responses weren't all that positive. They're like, no, why would you do this? So I remember actually recommending to them that, yeah, maybe this isn't the way to go. And now if you look around, you can actually see that, yeah, same. So things can change. And sometimes the snapshot of the moment doesn't necessarily mean that over a few years it might not be different.
That's what culture is, right? So thank God there's still people that are counterculture and subcultures, because that's where change happens, and then masses adopt slowly. Wonder if an AI could ever, predict or kind of get a grip on that. Maybe I hope not. Maybe that's romantic, but
Getting to the last point, which is going to be a statement. The statement is, today, AI in marketing is not just more efficient, but also more effective. Tony.
No.
I don't know.
I'll go with yes, just to make it interesting. Or maybe I should say, at least within market research, I think we've become more efficient, and I think more effective in the sense that AI can help us look into trends and other things with data sets that maybe we couldn't do before. From a creative perspective, I'm curious about your I don't know.
Efficient in the sense of processes, for sure, easily. But effective, I think your company looks at humans, at neuro, more than AI. Or are synthetic data now bigger than real data?
No, I don't think so. It's more that the AI can help make some of the models that we create maybe more effective than before.
Right.
But then the question is, how
It's
do we
process.
define effective? Yeah.
And effective as
if that's
effective
efficient,
advertising.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I think
That's why I don't know.
Maybe
I
I'll
think it's
switch
just-
you
I
to
think it's too-
I
I
don't
think
know
it's
as
too-
well.
I just think it's too early. I think eventually the answer will be yes, but I think that's a few years out. I think today, it's as I said on stage, this is such early days. This whole agentic revolution is barely a year old. I mean, think about it. A year ago, we were barely talking about this. I gave a presentation at Tech Lab Summit last May, and I said this was coming, and then by the end of the year, it's kind of here. And it's really only taken off in the past 7 months, 8 months. So it's just so new. I think eventually my answer would be yes. Ask me 3 years from now, and I'd probably say yes. But we're still learning. We're all still learning.
And I think we have to also be careful not to overestimate AI sometimes. While it can help us do amazing things, I feel like you always still need that human eye just to double check
100%.
because we've
like
definitely found some interesting bloopers in our data as well if you analyze it only with AI.
Well, like in the 50s, we thought by the end of the 80s we'd be driving around in flying cars, right? It's never going to go as quick as we hope in the now.
Well, let's hope that we see each other back again in 3 years or next year or in 2 years.
See if our answer to the statement's any different by then.
Exactly, we will update on that one. Dat was hem dan voor vandaag. De VIA Livecast hier vanuit de DPG Media in Amsterdam bij de Dutch State of AI in Advertising. Ik hoop dat je er wat van hebt opgestoken. Ik dank onze gasten. En wil je meer van ons zien, volg dan dit kanaal of check ons op vianederland.nl.